Welcome everyone to another Astral interview, and here with me I have Surinder. Surinder, hi, how are you? Welcome.
I'm I'm good. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Surinder. Tell us a little bit about your past history, where you grew up, where you were born, and a little bit about you in your earlier days.
Okay. So I am my background is actually Punjabi. Like my parents are from Punjab, but I'm born in Hong Kong. So I born in Hong Kong, but then I moved to India for 2 years at the age of 8 to 10. That was because I was just, speaking Cantonese and eating Chinese food. I have Chinese friends. So my dad said, okay, it's time to go back and learn your culture, your language. So I was there from the age of 8 till 10.
Right.
And that's where I picked up the Punjabi and Hindi from there. So, and then I came back to Hong Kong, and then we moved. The whole family moved to Toronto.
Okay.
So yeah, and then from Toronto, I moved to Vancouver when I got married.
So, how come your parents moved from India to Hong Kong? There must be a story.
Well, my dad didn't want to be a farmer.
Okay.
Yeah, so my dad didn't want to be a farmer as well as there was no really like he there was no jobs other than being a farmer, and my father is the oldest one,
Right.
so he had to not only provide for his own family but
Also,
his parents' family.
got you.
Yeah,
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 that gets difficult then. Okay, so you're in Hong
yes.
Kong, you're growing up in Hong Kong. Tell us about some of your experiences in Hong Kong.
um well, experience in Hong Kong is, everybody say that, oh my god, how did you learn Cantonese? But honestly, because I guess because I was living there and I didn't find it difficult, right? So it's like, how, like, everybody, yeah. So everybody who knows me will be like, how did you like this? It's not an easy language to learn. But I think any language is not easy to learn when you're not there.
Yes.
When you are, that's the only language they speak. So you really don't have much choice. But and technically, I would say my first language is Cantonese.
Right. Okay. So not even
And the
not even Punjabi.
funny story is no, no, Cantonese.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
tell us your funny story.
So the funny story is, because in Hong Kong, at the time when I was there were Indians, but there are not too many Indians. So there's only one gurdwara, one temple. So everybody goes there.
Right.
And so when you go out, people think you can't speak Cantonese. So these Chinese people will say things about you
Yeah.
right there. They don't know how to speak. And then when you turn around and say something back to them, they
Yeah.
get into this shock factor. That was amazing.
Right. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so you're growing up in Hong Kong, and you must have met into different experiences that were more to the subject matter with energy and spirituality. Did you have a bit of a spiritual curiosity back then?
I always did. As long as I remember, I always did. But what, uh, for me, I think for me, not, you can't say religion. Like I'm born into Sikhism family, Sikh family, and but it's not because I was born, but I was always so much more attached to so much. uh, the Punjabi language speaks to me more,
Right.
even though I'm born in Hong Kong, raised in Hong Kong, and I speak fluent Cantonese. It was always Punjabi speaks deeper into me. Um, so I, even though there was a full access to at that time Buddha temples and all this, I don't think I have tapped into that energy until I moved to Vancouver.
Okay.
It's funny, but that's how it was.
Right.
Yeah, but I was always much more closer to um, the energy of from from India.
Okay. Okay. So then it must have
Yeah.
been exciting for you to go to India when your dad sent you to India.
Yes, it was a playtime. Um, I think for me that will be one of the best gift he given me. At that time, it wasn't a gift though. At that time, I was angry. I was mad. Why is he like? Why am I going to somewhere I can't even speak their language? I don't even want to eat their food, you know. But I think as I grew up, and I think I'm so lucky that I get to experience my culture, my even my religion, even though I'm not a religious person, but to kind of go depth into it, as well as knowing their culture,
Right.
right? And then actually speaking really deep Punjabi, because when you learn outside, it's like a more surface language you learn. Once you are in the in that place, you learn such an a depth, right? Like
Yeah.
that olden Punjabi.
Right. Right. And so,
Yeah.
while you were in India, speak about the differences between Hong Kong and India, not in the sense of culture necessarily, but in the sense of spirituality.
Honestly speaking, I think there's more similarities than difference
Of course. Yeah.
for both of that,
Right.
because in Asia, that I think their beliefs are pretty close, like
Right.
very much the way they're you know, for example, one thing is praying, what do you call, what am I looking, honoring the ancestors, really really important in both culture,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
It's not once they're past they're gone, you know. They pay respect on every occasion, like all festivals and all, you know, birthdays and child, when a child is born, or even and when weddings are happening. I find that is such a huge, like for me anyway, that's what I saw, that was, it's huge, that paying respect, which is another word they believe in, that there's something after you die, you
Yeah.
know. It's not like end, this is not like we die doesn't mean end, it's just that you're starting another journey.
Right. Right.
So I see more similarities than difference.
Of course. Okay.
And how they pray, how they even namaste or their bow, right? It's very very same, similar.
Hmm. And what about in India, Punjabi versus Hindi, and that difference or similarity in the aspect of spirituality?
I think it's also very same, because why am I saying that it's same? Because Sikhism did came from from Hinduism, so it's not like suddenly, you know, suddenly this you know, Punjab just came out of nowhere, or Sikhi came out of nowhere. It branched off, you know, from that. So we have, like, you know, we all celebrate, you know, Sikh celebrate Hindu festivals, because not because they're not yours, but because they're part of us. You
Yes.
know, um, totally is like my protector is Shiva.
Uh-huh. Right.
He's my protector, right? And
Right.
Hanuman is my protector. So, you know, I it's it's kind of like came together more for me than being apart,
Right.
you know. um, sanskrit Sanskrit is a beautiful language, and so is Gurmukhi.
Mm.
And if you really go deep down, they're teaching you the same things,
Right.
right?
Have you studied
So
have you studied the scripture of both Gurmukhi and Sanskrit?
I am actually studying both.
Wonderful, wonderful. Good for you. And are you studying in the sense
Thank you.
understanding the philosophy, or are you studying in the sense of chanting it?
No, philosophy.
Philosophy.
Honestly, I think um, it's my own personal experience that I believe in actually taking the chant and actually like observing it instead of just chanting it. It stays on your, for me, it stays on my surface, because I need to know the meaning of it so that my buddhi, my intelligent would let it pass it so that I can actually get it, right? Because if you are like, your mind is always looking for truth,
Yes.
right? Your mind is always looking for truth. And if your mind finds that it's fake, it doesn't let you sink in.
Right.
So
Right.
for me, I need to understand
Yeah.
so that then I can go deeper into it, right? So I don't do my prayer every day, but I studied so that I'm following these, deeper meaning to it. I take these, like for example, Guru Nanak have 3 rules,
Okay.
right? And his three rules are: one, you pray, be grateful,
Yeah.
right? And second is you work honestly. So whatever you do it with a 100% honesty in it. And third is to share whatever you have, which means 10% of your income should go to charity. So for me, always these 3 rules have applied all my life.
Right.
And I don't chant every day, but I this rules apply to me every single day.
Right. So they're
So for me,
in the background, they're always there.
yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes.
Well, they're beautiful rules. And okay, so let's talk about a little bit about your individual experiences in spirituality. What was your first spiritual experience?
I always been spiritual, and I remember I was really young when I started to study the history of the gurus. Actually, not this Guru Mukhi at that time, but more of the history of all 10th Guru and what actually they done. And I remember writing these things down, and it wasn't like and I was probably 8, maybe 7, I don't even remember. But to me, it fascinated me to know, wow, what have they accomplished in their life, in their human life. And I think I studied each of them, and I went through their history. And even like, it come to the 10th Guru, when he actually sacrificed all his children for human mankind. And to to know that kind of a love for mankind was huge for me.
Right.
So that's always been. But I think my first ever really experience where I was like, oh, okay, can this be happening, was a dream.
Hmm.
I had a dream, and in my dream, I saw the first Guru, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and that's the painting of his.
Familiar with Guru Nanak.
And I saw exactly, yes, and I saw exactly like this, with his yellow turban, exactly like this. And he's standing and he's doing this action, blessing me, and I'm bowing to him. And I woke up thinking, that's not possible. Why would Guru Nanak come to me? Like, and and I kind of pushed it away because I didn't think I was worthy enough,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, sometimes we
And yeah, yeah. So that was my first experience where it was like, oh, okay, And I think it took me very, very long time to accept that, oh, okay, he's my first guide that I know of.
Right, right. And so when you had that experience and you had that blessing from Guru Nanak, and well, you bowed down to him, so you were submitting to his blessing and you're submitting to his guidance then too, right? And
Yes.
in after that experience, what happens in your life that makes you realize that yes, he's your guide, even though back then you didn't think yourself worthy?
No, I think it took me very, very long time, honestly. I think I shut that part of myself very early because I did not feel worthy of it. Actually, all of this reopened when my brother passed away about 9 years ago.
Yeah,
He died. He passed away of cancer,
right.
and he was diagnosed for cancer, and within a month he passed away. So I think it just hit me so hard that first thing I did was deny everything and deny everyone. I actually stopped going to Gurdwara. I didn't go to church. I didn't go anywhere. I just kind of, I didn't even say thank you for 2 years. Like I just kind of, I was so mad. And it took me some time. And, during my grieving process, that's when one day it dawned on me that I'm being so selfish. I wanted him for myself. I wanted my brother for myself, but I wasn't thinking of his pain. You
Yeah,
know, Universe actually did me a favor and him a favor because he took this beautiful soul without so much suffering. And I think that was a changer for me, and everything opened. Like everything in me opened, and these. The knowledge that I have, the wisdom that I have, the past experience that I blocked, all came running back to me,
right,
you
right.
know. Um, so I think it took me that long actually to kind of embrace my spirituality.
Well, grief is a time when we go in and we start asking questions, right? And we start analyzing, um, what just happened, because something so dear to us has now left us, and it feels like such a great loss to us that we don't think about anything else but the fact that we lost this great love in our life,
Yes.
right? And so that's when you ask the
Yeah.
difficult questions. So we all do that, and things open up to us then. So I think it was more than the grief that created that trigger, though, because when you were in the grief, you were still denying it all. In fact, probably even more so. So what created the trigger to make you come to the awareness that it was a gift rather than a loss?
I think it was the pain. Pain is your greatest teacher,
Yeah.
honestly speaking, because when you cannot take pain anymore, you surrender. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
it was that pain. My oldest brother is actually, he's my oldest brother, and I'm the youngest. I'm the baby, and he's the oldest. And there was 16 years gap, so he was practically my dad.
Right.
You know, so when I lost him, I didn't lose my brother. Not only lost my brother, I lost my father. I lost my best friend
Yes.
because we shared everything.
Oh,
So that pain was so much, and I've been through that part where I did not show myself. I always been a strong person, so crying was weakness for me. I would hide in the closet and cry. Nobody knew that I was actually grieving.
right.
Like, I was just slowly dying inside, and it nobody saw it, only me. And I think the pain went so bad that I said, I can't do this anymore. I surrender. And I think when you surrender
Let go.
and let the universe do its job, miracles happen.
Right.
No. And it was from my inner voice saying that, listen to me, like finally I started to listen to the voice that was in, which was covered with all sorts of noise, right? And it was then I really sat and thought about, wow, it was actually a bad blessing. Instead of, me getting mad, I remember going to the temple, and I remember bowing, and I said, I'm sorry. That, it took me that long to realize that you actually did me a favor.
Mhm. Well, maybe not a favor, but
Yeah.
it was a blessing in disguise, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, when I said favor, I meant, like, such a selfish thing
Yes.
for us. We want everything we want to hold on to people, we want to hold on to things, and we're not letting the things flow. It is a favor in a sense that I would have watched him die slowly,
Yeah.
like in pain.
Yes. Yeah.
So at least he was not in pain.
Yes.
Yeah. And the best part is, it took me 2 years to realize he always been with me. He never actually left. you know
And so,
he's my guide now. He's my
how did you come to that realization? He's all
Okay, so he first, when I was starting to when he passed away, and of course I'm in pain, and I remember him. uh when I kind of had my spirituality shut off, mostly I will get my answers in my dreams. So I'm very, very close. I was very close to my grandma, my dad's mom. She also come in my dream, and my brother started to coming in my dream. And I remember in my dream, my house was on fire, and I have no way out, and my kids are not in, only I am in there. And it's literally, there's no way out of the house. He comes in, pick me up, bring me out, and put me down on the grass, and he left without saying a word. He just left. And that's when I realized he's he's he haven't gone.
Mhm.
he's he's not he's here. I mean, at that time I was this way, but now I can always feel his energy. He's always on my right side. you know like whenever I feel a male present, it's always him on my right side. So now I'm more aware of it. At that time, because I was so much in pain, I was not able to tap into these things, right? So they have to communicate with me through dreams.
Right, right. Of course, because that's when we're the most relaxed, most calm. So that's the easiest way for them to come through.
Yes.
And that, even if they come through, we have to remember
Yes.
they came through.
Yes.
There's so many times I'm sure we're getting visits, but because we're still in chat mode in our sleep, we're missing out on our experiences there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you're here in Canada. So how did we go from Hong Kong to India to Canada? What happened?
So from Hong Kong, I'm born in. India, I went to learn my language, my culture, and then my sister got married in Toronto, and then the whole family moved to Toronto.
Okay, okay.
And then yeah, so that's how Toronto was. And then I got married, and I moved to Vancouver.
Okay. So
So
tell us about
hi.
that transition from India to Canada.
So from India to Canada was a culture shock. Now we are out of the Asia and right here in North America, totally different than um, what I was used to. First of all, English was not my first language, so that was already a issue at that time. And then on top of it, I come into high school and things are totally different than what we are accustomed to. So I really went into culture shock because, one, no uniform.
Right.
Yeah, so no uniform. So every day you have to think about what to wear, because that's like take time, take energy, right? You wear good uniform is easy. Every day, same thing, good. But okay, so wearing that. Then second was in India or even in Hong Kong, teachers are your gurus, right? Like you really respect them. You don't talk back, right?
Yeah.
And then I went into my first class in Toronto, and the first thing heard is this student saying to the teacher the F word. And I was like, oh, he's gonna get beating. Oh, he's trouble. And all the teacher said was, go to the principal's office. And I was like, that's it? Like you can actually disrespect your teacher like this? Oh, okay. That was like big for me.
Right.
And then the other thing was that how couples were, at the age of like 15, 16, 17, they in the hallway and they're totally, showing off affections openly. That was also a big shock for me. I haven't even seen my parents doing that. So that was another culture shock. So it took me some time to like, oh, I'm in a different place.
Right. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess when you were growing up, so you had to adjust to all these new opennesses around you and liberties around you. I guess we can call it liberties because everyone has the ability to pretty much do whatever they want. The consequences are very different. And
Very
therefore the society is different and the people around you are different. Their value systems are different.
100%.
So tell me then, now you're in the world of spirituality, in the world of energy. What was your path? Like you said, you went to school there, and what was your path career-wise, and how did you end up in the energy world?
Okay. So as I was growing up, when I was a really, really like when I was about 5, 6, very young, my dad used to have headache, and so is my brother, and then I would just massage their head, and they will say, "Oh, headache is gone." Right? Obviously, at that age, I was very, very happy. Oh, I fixed my dad, I fixed my brother, you know. And then as I grew up, I started to think, oh, they're just saying because they love me so much, they just want to make me happy. I thought that was what I thought, right? And then as we grew up when I was like in high school, my brother had a couple of surgeries, and I'm the one who's doing his dressing, taking care of him. So it will always worked out really well, no infection, nothing. And one day my brother said, you really have a magic in your hand, and think about nursing. At that time I didn't think about nursing. It was until I moved here, got married, have 2 kids, and then I suddenly thought, oh, nursing would be a good option, right? So I took nursing. So I have worked in long-term care, helping the seniors crossover. I worked in palliative care, and that was some time. I worked there for 15, 16 years. And then when my brother passed away, that's when everything sort of started to shift in my life. And after he passed away 2 years, and then I started questioning my life. Like, what am I doing? What's my purpose? Why am I here? And I was in a toxic relationship. My ex is a alcoholic, and I was like, why am I tolerating this? Like I started to question these things, and I decided, this is it, I'm done. So I decided to get divorced. It was a messy divorce. It took 3 years.
Of course.
And I got into depression because of such a messy divorce. So my hands started to shake. I could not function, could not do simple tasks. So then, of course, I went to the doctor, and knowing I already knew what I was getting in. I knew that he's going to prescribe me antidepressant, right? So I took the depression pill. I took it for 3 weeks.
Right.
3 weeks I took depressed and I gained 10 pounds. So
More depression.
when I gained, oh yeah, I was like, oh shit, this is gonna make me even more depressed. So I'm like, oh, this is not working. So I I threw out those pills in the garbage. And I remember at that day, that particular day, when I decided, my three of my daughters were playing in my room, and I'm sitting there and looking at them play, and I'm on laptop and thinking of them play, and I said, I can't go into this. Like I cannot go into this path. I need to get out of it because already they don't have a father, and then they're not gonna have a mother. So I'm like, okay, this. So I got up, I threw the pills, and I started to look for other ways to heal myself.
Right.
So I started searching. The first thing that came up was Reiki.
Right.
So, you know how they say, you don't find Reiki, Reiki find you.
Yes.
So I would say it did. It really did find me. I remember that day, same day I called and I booked for an appointment for Reiki session. I got I went into with open mind. I wasn't thinking what could happen. What I said, let's give it a try. So I went there, got a first session done, and I kid you not, I felt the difference big time, even with one session.
Right. Yeah.
And that's it. That's where everything started.
Right. And I guess when you had that great experience in your session, you now became curious. What is this? How does it work? How did she do that or he do that?
100%. I was like, what's going on? Because my whole body was tingling. Like I feel tingle everywhere just by her hand on my head. And I was like, I felt a surge of energy in me. And then I saw my eyes were closed and I saw colors, you know. And then I also saw my grandma's face. Like I felt her, and it wasn't like a just a kind of a normal session. For me it was like profound.
Yes.
It was big for me.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where. And then I went to these sessions for 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Continually I went for 8 months, and I felt so much better. And after 8 months I said, if this is helping me so much, now I wanted to pay back to help others heal
with others.
So that's when I took.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So then in your experience of having Reiki done to you and you wanting to help others, what did you do? You went out and took courses in Reiki?
Yes. Yeah.
So
I took Reiki courses level 1, 2, 3 all in 1 year.
And energy.
So major shift because everything.
Yes, from nursing to Reiki. So energy and chi, if I may call it chi in the Asian term, is something that is sort of part of your past because it's prominent in Hong Kong, it's prominent in India, and you're now coming to Canada and learning about it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I know, big time. And I think it always been in me, like this whole thing. It's just I did not know the term, like what is it called, what it is. You call it chi in Hong Kong, you call it Reiki here, you call it prana in India. Basically the same thing, universal energy, unconditional love, but it wasn't until here that I actually got into it. Not that I never experienced. As a palliative care nurse, when the resident was passing, I felt there was in the room where I will be with the patient, I felt like there's more than one person. Like there's a lot of energy in there. Like I could sense it. I just didn't know what was it until I told my mentor. I'm like, when I go into my palliative care person's residence room and there's like I almost feel like I'm cutting through the anode, like cutting through something to get to the resident. And she's like, yeah, that's the councils, you know, they all come to get you, you
Right.
know. I was like, wow, right? So I felt these things before. I just never knew the terms. What do you call it?
Right.
So when you don't know something, you get scared,
Yes. Of course. Of course. Yes.
right? So I remember always running out of the rooms.
And then did you ever come to the conclusion that you shouldn't run out of the room but stay and experience it?
Yes,
Okay.
later on I did.
Right.
Um, and it was beautiful. Actually, it was so beautiful. And I remember one time I actually cried because I felt so much love. Like it, that energy was so beautiful. Like, you know, you have a, it's like you tapping into a different dimension, you know, at that moment, you know, tapping into that unconditional love because they came to get you so that that transition is easy,
Mhm.
you know, from this world to the other world. I think it's a it was a powerful experience.
So when your
Once I started getting scared.
when your brother passed away, were you there in the room with him? No.
No, that's, I think that was my guilt that ate me, was because he's in Toronto and I was here.
Yes.
So I question, I've been with so many people helping them cross over, but my own brother, I wasn't there.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Of course.
So that was, I think that was a guilt that was holding me, because why wasn't I there? You know, he was most important person in my life and I wasn't there for him, you know. And it actually him who said to me that that was not your job. Like he's the one who told me to let that go, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he forgives you for sure.
yeah,
Um, okay,
yeah,
let's talk about you and your Reiki now. You practice Reiki, and you practice Reiki with
yeah.
individuals, and you practice Reiki in groups as well,
Yes, in groups as well as distance.
as well as distance. So talk to me a little bit about your experience now working with Reiki with different clients.
So I think the first session that I had, and it was a really, really powerful session, and I had a client came over, and I remember I touched her head and I felt so much sadness. So I actually said to her, I said, whoa, you're so sad, right? Because I have a, with my client, I asked them, do you want it to continue for me to tell you what's coming up for you? Or do you want to, you know, everybody takes in Reiki differently. So this client was okay for me to talk through it. So, and she's like, like this is what she said. And then I touched her head again, and I said, oh, I said, could be from past experience or could be this life, but did you ever had abortion?
Mhm.
And she just started crying
Oh,
on my table. Okay. And she's like, nobody knows about this. Nobody does. And how do you know? And I was like, I just know. Like I can't, I don't know how to tell you, but that was how I felt when I touched you.
right.
And I think that was really, even even that moment wowed me myself. Like even I you know, I got Reiki done myself and everything, but that moment was like, wow, that's big, because now that we know, we can help her heal and help her move through this, you know.
Right.
Why would I, like, why did I pick that up? Because that part of her needed healing. And I went through miscarriage myself when my first one was miscarried. So I had that experience.
Right.
And when client comes to you, we actually mirroring each other, you
Mhm.
know. You will attract client, the client type of clients in your life is the ones that, you know, the trauma you healed, the wound you have healed, they will come to you now because you already done the healing. So now you can help others heal that part of them. And every time you healing them, they're healing you.
Yes, of course. That it's like you said, a mirror effect. It's you're not the only healer. Your client's a healer too, and you're healing them, and they're healing you at that very same moment when you're doing the service for them.
Yes.
So you've had many clients now, I'm sure, and you enjoy doing Reiki, and now you're going to actually be joining at the 888 event, and are you going to be doing Reiki there, or tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so this is actually my first event that I'm doing in public. So this will be I starting with Reiki, but I am Akashic record reader too. I teach meditation. I'm a yogi myself. I'm a spiritual coach. But at this event, 8888, I'm starting with Reiki.
Huh,
Yeah.
wonderful. So tell us then about a little bit about your other things too. How did you get into them? What's your experience with them, the Akashic records?
So it was like, you know, I felt that universe had planned all of this thing for me. So it happened was like one thing happened, the other thing happens, and the other then, and that thing lead to the other, then this thing lead to the other.
How it is.
So as I was learning, I finished my Reiki, and then we started getting into groups, and I meet other healers, and then an Akashic record came up, you know. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting. I want to learn more. And I think at first I got a session done for myself,
Right,
and it was with Teza.
right.
And that's when I was like, wow, you can actually tap into so much things. I want it. I want this. So, and then I took it with Teza. So that was one. Um, I also know Kundalini Reiki. I also do karmic band healing. Um, but what put everything together for me, all these things I learned was that it was still like one is here, Akashic is here, Reiki is here, like they were still feel separated, right? And then what happened is that during the COVID, I got stuck in India for three and a half months in a lockdown.
Oh, yeah, right.
So yeah, so it was a very, very frustrating situation to begin with. So I was really not, I wanted to go home. I have my two of my kids were here. My youngest one was with me, but I just want to get home. But everything was out of my control. Coming home was out of control. I'm living with someone else's house. What I even eat, what will I eat is always out of control. No access to meat, no glass of wine, everything done, get out. Um, and then it started with being a forced retreat. It started as a forced retreat because I didn't want to be there. And then I was like, okay, so I decided what to do now. Okay, so it's not in my control. So let's use this time.
Right.
So during this time, I took 2 yoga retreat online.
Hmm.
I took 3 silent retreat online. I took Yoga Sutra class, which is a Sanskrit. I finished my Kundalini, all Kundalini levels. I took Mudra class. And then I started to pick up Ayurvedic stuff. Like I started to get downloads of, how our grandparents and ancestors heal. They didn't use Tylenol. They didn't use prednisone. They use herbs.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it just started to come to me. It's like, oh, this plant is for this. This is for this. And it was like, whoa, where is this knowledge coming from? Amazing feeling, right? And after that trip, I came back home and everything made sense. Like if one thing I didn't take, it wouldn't have made sense.
Right.
So everything so far that I have done to this point, everything makes sense. Like, oh, so I took this class because it was going to help this one. So I did this part because it was going to help this one.
Come
So
together
it just, it just, it just moved me from this level to another level. And now having access to that other dimension, or having access to that unlimited possibility, is very close compared to what I used to. I have to do this ritual to get to this part. Like even if I'm doing Reiki, so you do this circle, protection, all these things before you start doing Reiki. And now I can actually bypass those, you know, and actually tap into it right away.
Right.
And it's kind of amazing feeling because I mean, obviously rituals are a beautiful thing. And when you're starting, those are the things you do. But how beautiful it is that they're all very on our fingertip if we can, if we keep our conduit, or the straw, clean. So the energy just start to flow in you. You become part of it. You're just letting things flow out of you and in you without any restrictions.
Right.
And to me, this happened because of India. So that Force retreat was a beautiful spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never been so content in my life that I am right now. Like it's just everything is like, oh, you know, everything just makes so much sense, you know. And now that I heal so much in me, then it's so easy to, not easy in a sense, oh, not from coming from ego, but just from very humble place, that the universe trusted me with these gifts, or say trusted me to let that energy flow through me to help others.
Yes, that's right. Because you're a conduit, right? You don't.
Yes.
You're not the healer. It's the healing is coming through
No.
you. And same with we're
Yes.
all healers, right? In that sense, because um, God is in all of us, so we're all healers in that sense. It's just becoming aware of your ability to heal, and
Yes.
um, it's very important to understand this because you don't want to drain yourself in your healing or your act of healing or your act of helping another. You want to let the universe come through you to heal, so you don't deplete
Yeah.
your own energy.
No. No. And that is the difference between your personal energy and the universal energy. So if we can start using universal energy, observe, using that, letting yourself be a straw, then you will not get tired, you not get drained. But if you started to use your personal energy and you don't know how to refill your cup, then you're drained.
Right. Yes, that's right. And so talk about that a little bit, refilling your cup. How do you refill your cup?
Well, I'm always been a yogi, so I do yoga. And actually, regarding that, I would say I did yoga in Vancouver. So I did oxygen yoga, I did Bikram yoga,
Yeah.
but it was more for physical. Like it here I felt like it was taught as a physical part of it, like, like an exercise. It was not until this lockdown that I was stuck in India that I took yoga, did my yoga retreat there, that I can, it's not only the exercise of your body, but your mind and your spirit. It's putting all of them together. Yoga is aligning your body, your mind, and spirit. It's not just the physical part. And that was such a huge thing for me in India, is that learning to put that three things together, not just focusing on getting fit physically, but to, you know, not in a sense I say fit in mind or your spirit, because they're already fit, but actually aligning them with your body. When you are in an asana, or when you're in a posture, to let it be effortless. You start with the effort. You make an effort to go get into certain part, a posture, asana, and then let go of the effort, and that's when all three things align.
Yeah.
And I think for me that was missing.
Right. Right. I hear you. Um, so
So that's a
also,
big thing for me. And grounding, walking in nature.
yes. And I just want to go back for a second. When you are doing yoga in India with a yogi, the experience is also different because your relationship with the yogi is different. Like you said about school and other things, they're your guru. So when they're your guru,
Yes.
it's a different relationship than here. You feel like you're doing yoga with all your peers, and the teacher is also your peer. Whereas there, you're actually receiving something on an energetic level from your person who's your yogi as well, right?
Yes. And I also noticed the different, that when they're correcting you here and in India with the yoga, and my let me even tell you this, that yoga word was established in Western country. In India it's called yoga. It's not called yoga, but now it's, of course, everywhere is yoga, but actually the word was yoga. And when they're correcting you here, they're correcting your physical part of it,
Right.
your physical posture. But when they're correcting you there, they're actually telling you, now breathe this way. The posture will happen by itself.
Right.
Focus on your breathing, and
Right.
the posture will go where it needs to go. So don't force your body, but work with your mind and spirit, like your breathing, and your posture will actually automatically, slowly get where it needs to go.
Right. Beautiful.
So that's different for me. Like, that was major different for me. So they never correct you, or your leg is this way, your hand is here. No, they just tell you, okay, now you breathe certain way, so your posture will change, will be, it get corrected by itself.
Wow. So does
Yeah.
each posture have a different breath then?
uh there, it's called parinama breathing. So basically is to focus on your breathing. Breathe through the throat. Use the throat as a breathing, not your nose, not your mouth, but your throat. You're like almost like breathing, like you're choking.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe. And they want your breath to be um, in exhale and inhale should be very, very slow. And then the breathing pattern actually is very different, not for the posture, but there are many different breathing, because we also do breathing exercise after yoga.
Right.
So in yoga posture, the breathing type is mostly the same, but after doing the yoga, then we do the breathing exercise, which is a lot of different breathing exercise, and it increase your prana,
Wow.
and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I want to visit India because I'm sure the experiences in India will be very different. Not just to see the Bollywood stars or meet them or anything like that, but
I mean, I did all of these things online, and I feel like once this COVID thing is hopefully soon will be over, I actually wanted to experience in person because there's still a difference, in a online and in person,
Yes.
you
Maybe
know.
maybe we can
So
go.
it was beautiful. Yeah, maybe we could. Yeah. I mean, I learned so much online. I wonder what will happen if it's in person, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely one of my desires is to go to India before I die. Inshallah, one day.
Yeah,
All right, my dear.
one day.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for telling us about 888. Thank you for allowing us to do this interview with you. And we look forward to having a visit with you at the event. And hopefully, everyone who sees this will also join you there.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you, Surinder.